It's almost like it does not matter your fortune, your fame. It really does not matter. Things happen to everyone. Last week when Kim was here, and you might have heard Karen say it as well. I know I've heard my sister say it, and I've even kind of thought the same thing in some respects, in some regards for myself. The question comes up, why me? That's the question. When something happens to us, the question comes up, why me? But it's to the point now, so many things are happening. The likelihood of any of us not being hit is slim. At some point in our lives, something is happening to all of us one way or the other. For some, it's health issues. For some, it's relationship issues. For some, it's financial issues. For some, it's career issues. For some, it's housing issues. For some, it's, you kind of name it, there's an issue for it. So it's almost to the point now where none of us are going to be able to dodge the quote-unquote, why me? It really kind of is like we just don't know which one, if not more than one, we're going to get hit with. And it behooves us to kind of be prepared for it. Just kind of know that we're not going to get out of this thing unscathed, that something somewhere along the line is going to come up. And they're going to be predicaments that you did not imagine yourself being in. That's kind of the way this thing works. Like you get into these things and you just could not in your wildest imagination see yourself in that particular predicament. That's the way these things work. So going back to what I just said, it really doesn't matter how much money you have, because this is what I tell my students all the time and other folks who are listening. If you lose your money and you're still healthy, you can most likely make that back. If you lose your honey, well, I guess what? There's more than one fish in the sea. You can get another honey. However, there's a couple of things that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what honey you have. That if you lose those particular things, they're not coming back. One is your health. If you significantly lose your health, and I'm not talking about a cold, I'm not talking about the flu, I'm not talking about, the everyday things that impacts folks' health. I'm talking about that. I am talking about a major disorder or disease that for the most part, there's no cure for. Now, you can treat it, but as far as it being totally cured, again, that's the one I'm talking about. Those are the ones I'm talking about. And the same holds true for time. That you cannot get time back. Whatever time, that's why I said earlier I had to choose my words a little bit differently whenever I said you're losing time by listening to me on Saturday mornings. Like, no, you're not losing it, but you are spending it. And what happens is you cannot get time back. Doesn't matter if you're a bazillionaire. Does not matter if you're Bezos. With all the money Bezos has, he can't get time back. With all the money Bezos has, he can't get his health back if he goes. All right? Because if money could buy health, then you wouldn't have had the Rockefellers and the Kennedys and all these folks that got sick or either got killed or whatever, because they had the money. So it's not even about the money. So there's certain things that once they're gone, they're extremely difficult to get back. And where I'm going with this is, for the one, I don't watch a whole lot of news, but if I happen to be somewhere where a news station is on, then I don't have a choice but to look at it or see it. I'm in a place like that the other day, and the news was on, and Celine Dion comes on. Now, Celine is a very well-known, very popular songstress, singer, musician. She comes on because she had went on Instagram, and she had gone on there and made the announcement that she was canceling her music activities for 2023 in terms of her concerts and tours, so forth and so on. And she announced that she had a syndrome I had never heard of ever. And it was called stiff person syndrome. Only 1 per million people get this particular disorder. Out of 1 million people, listen to that, out of 1 million people, only 1 out of that million will come down with this disorder. And Celine Dion has been diagnosed with that. She is that 1 out of a million people that came down with this syndrome. Now, what the syndrome is, it gets your bones and everything so brittle and rigid that really slight movements could wind up breaking it, breaking the bone, breaking the you know, if it's your spine, which I think with her, that's where it was starting, was in her spine could wind up just snapping. If it's her, you know, an arm or a leg or whatever, or, you know, up in her neck, it can get so brittle that it'll just break. And she has that. So she announced it tearfully, and I mean, it's like, and I can understand her tears. But my point is, it doesn't matter, because Celine Dion is famous. I mean, maybe I'll even pull up a Celine, maybe I will. Maybe I'll do that. I'll play a Celine Dion song or two. But she has something now, because as I'm listening to the doctors, and they're saying, no, we can't cure it. The only thing we can do is treat it. So I know somewhere in her mind, the words, why me, had to come up. They would have for me. And I think, you know, for those of us, and which all of us are human, for those of us who are human, you can't help but ask that question. But it's like 1 out of, like, see, my thing is this, and I don't even play the lottery, so it's like for me to be able to hit a lottery is almost impossible because I don't play it. But it's like, for those kind of odds, it's kind of like, well, dog, why couldn't I have hit a lottery? If the odds are like that out of 1 in a million people can get this disease, why can't I be that 1 in a million that hits that Powerball? But in all honesty, it does work both ways, because there are folks who do hit the lottery who play. All right, so it does work both ways. But it's just, my point here is, none of us are going to get out of this without something. So therefore, none of us have any room to be looking down or judging anybody, because every last one of us are dealing with something one way or the other. And all of them are equally as painful. I mean, the experiences may be different, but at the end of the day, you're in a situation you don't want to be in. You're in a predicament that you had no idea you were going to be in. And you're in it, and you got to deal with it. That's what the readings kind of dealt with this morning from Ian and from Letitia. It's like, you know, you got to press on. And so Celine is saying she's going to fight it. And, you know, that's all any of us can do. And that's why the last few shows with the folks who have survived cancer, that's why I've had them on and I had them share their story. It did a few things. One, for them, it did some good. Just the opportunity to share with other people their experiences and the fact that they're making it. Now, for the listener, what it did for you, I hope, was give you some hope. Like, okay, my situation is bad, but I just heard Kim talk about all of her experiences with ovarian cancer. So if Kim can go through all that and still be making it and talking and smiling and doing her thing, then you know what? I'm going to do it too. If Karen can go through all of that and she's still around doing her thing, then you know what? I'm going to, you know, excuse me, earlier in the year when I had all the folks that were talking about mental health issues, if they can do that, then guess what? I can do. When I had Marcy Glidden Savage on, she lost 2 husbands to suicide. So you listen to her, and so she's still going on, even though whatever that makes you feel like, whenever 2 of your spouses decide to kill themselves, she's still going on. There's other guests that I've had throughout the year that you listen to them and say, okay, whew, what they went through was horrific. But if they can get through that and still give this testimony and press on, then I can too. That is the hope, that as you listen to these various people share their stories, that's what's going through your mind, that it's giving you some hope to say, you know what, I can do this too. Regardless of what's going on, you can't just give up. You can't just quit. And that's what, again, as the folks have been coming on over the last few weeks, that is kind of like their message. Now, what I know what their message is saying is they're not telling you it's easy. That's not what they're telling you, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But you have to find a way to fight on. That's the trick. Because like I said, I don't think any of us are going to get out of a why me moment. I really don't. I don't think at this point, and I don't think any of us ever have been able to. I mean, it's just a matter of what and when and what time. And, maybe I still have to do the podcast on the shun and the shuns, but I think the next one, I think I'm actually going to do it today, is the whole why me moment that I'm talking about here. I think I'm going to do the same thing in terms of a podcast to share the same message. All right, so we're going to continue with this theme of fighting on. All right, I need you, you need me. See, that's what Iyanla was talking about with the accountability partners in terms of getting somebody to fight with you. If you remember, in each one of the cases with the guests who were here, when they were sharing their story, they would always emphasize the importance of a support group. Someone to support you as you're going through. Because you cannot do whatever these things are alone. And yet, many of us, that's what we try to do. We get whatever our why me moments are, or whatever our why me events or situations are, and then we think we got to do it all alone. And I told you before, that is the trick. That is the trick of the enemy. That is the trick of Satan. That is the trick of the devil. That is the trick of however you want to pose it. The trick of negativity, the trick of negative energy, the trick of karma, the trick of whatever you want to call it. The trick is to have you believe that you have to do it by yourself. And the truth of the matter is, no, you couldn't do it by yourself either. We are encouraging folks to fight in terms of whatever it is that you're going through, because the truth of the matter is, everybody, that was my first thought whenever I saw Celine making her announcement. One of my first thoughts whenever they talked about, because Kirsty was only 71, I believe, 71, 72, somewhere around there. And then she said, very brief, struggle, battle with cancer. And then come to find out it was colon cancer. So it, again, does not matter the fortune, does not matter the fame. There is no respect of person. Talking about the why me moment or the why me scenario or situation or event or because we were talking about Celine Dion whenever she made her announcement this week about having, and again, this is a syndrome, a medical issue, a medical disease never heard of. And I've been coming across a lot of those of recent. But some of these things, it's amazing how many medical conditions are out there that we know nothing of, that we have no clue exists until someone gets it. So Celine announced that she has stiff person syndrome. And the syndrome makes your bones so brittle that really, small moves could cause a break. Not a fracture, but a break. Could cause them to just crumble, shatter. Like if you drop a glass and it shatters all over the floor, your bones can get like that with this stiff person syndrome. And Celine Dion is not just your ordinary average, but she's well known. She's a celebrity. And so things happen to celebrities too. People don't understand that celebrities are human beings. That's why I don't get starstruck. And I've met a lot of celebrities in my day. And none of them had made me go to the point where it's, I will never wash this hand again. Or I'm fainting, or I'm fawning, and I'm falling all over the place. Because truth be told, I feel like I am just as good as he or she. And so they should be just as proud and honored to be meeting me as I am proud and honored to be meeting them. That's kind of like my mindset whenever I meet celebrities. I'm sorry, I just do not go crazy and carry on and hollering and screaming and yelling and hugging and crying and oh my God. No, I'm not doing all that. No, don't get me wrong. I respect their work. I respect if they're a good song, if they're a good singer or a good musician, no question. Good athlete, good whatever they do. Known worldwide, yes, wonderful. But as far as me getting carried away and carrying on because I met such and such. I would not care if I met President Obama. I would talk to him just like I'm talking to you right now. And we could shake hands, we could sit down, we could talk, we could ask questions, we could laugh, we could joke, we could whatever. Even though he's a former president of the United States, I would still have no different reaction per se than if I were meeting the custodian at the White House. Because people are people. Human beings are human beings. Let me be very clear with you, and I've said this before on air in terms of what a celebrity is. A celebrity is a human being who has a job that is seen by millions of people, and they make millions of dollars. So the difference between the person who is not a celebrity versus the person who is a celebrity is the amount of people who see what they do and the amount of money they make to do it. That is the only difference, because they get the attention of folks around the world because they're seen, and they get paid a lot of money because they get a lot of attention by people who pay their money to see them. But short of that, they are human beings just like those of us who have regular jobs, who make regular salaries. So that's kind of like my mindset. Like I say, if you come to my office, there are pictures of me with various celebrities all over the place. If you come, if I were to find, which I probably can't at this point, if I were to find old photo albums, you would see different pictures back in the day of folks who were celebrities at that time. George Iceman Gervin. Me pictures with all folks, San Antonio Spurs, the players at that time, Gene Banks, Artis Gilmore. These are folks that were celebrities back during that time, back in the 70s and 80s. So I have pictures with them. Don't even know where those pictures are anymore. Tommy from Martin, whenever, and he's passed away now. I had pictures with him. I have pictures with Tommy holding one of my daughters whenever she was like a baby. In terms of meeting these folks, I've been on the Arsenio Hall show. When Arsenio was on, I was in Los Angeles. It was in the studio for that. So as far as seeing these folks, I've been to multiple tapings of The Cosby Show whenever they were filming over here in New York. I got a chance to meet some of those, and I remember my first wife, she saw Felicia Rashad and just lost her mind because she loved Felicia Rashad, and she happened to walk past her as they were, as she was going to the restroom, and she just could not believe she had just shook hands or walked past or seen or smiled at or looked at or whatever. Felicia Rashad. So I've been in the presence of these folks in terms of athletes, in terms of actors and actresses, in terms of musicians, in terms of some of these very musicians that I play here on the show. I've actually had a chance to meet them, like the Mighty Collows of Joy. When they came to the Patterson area, I had an opportunity to meet them. And the list can go on and on. But my point is, they're human beings just like us. I can remember watching some of the Michael Jackson videos and how, they would show folks in the audience just crying and hollering. They couldn't even speak English, and they were Michael Jackson, couldn't even speak English. And because he was over in Asia or somewhere, over in China or either over there in Japan. He was in one of those. They were showing the concert over there. The folks that was in the audience couldn't even speak English, and they were just breaking out in tears and crying and because it was Michael Jackson on the stage. At the end of the day, Michael Jackson was a human being just like the rest of us. And that's the way it is. So celebrities get diseases and health issues like anyone else. Celebrities get divorces and separations and breakups and death just like anyone else. Celebrities has issues just like anyone else. So for folks to be carrying on, they need to understand celebrities are just as prone, they are just as vulnerable to life's issues as everyone else.
Well, this has been another episode of the Marc Medley Show. So good to be with you once again. You can catch me live on Saturday mornings as I host my radio show on gobrave.org. That's GOBRAVE.org. For those in the northern New Jersey, New York area, it's on 88.7 FM. But if you really want to get in contact with me, just go to my website. That is the hub for everything, marcamedley.com. That's MarcAmedley.com. MarcMedley.com. If you go there, that gives you access to all of my social media pages and platforms. Also let you know more about the show, as well as even this podcast, The Marc Medley Show. So again, I don't think any of us are going to get out of the why me moments. That's just the bottom line, is that something is occurring with all of us, whether we are heading into a storm, we are in the storm, or we are coming out of the storm. I don't think any of us are going to get around the why me moment. Again, go to my website, marcamedley.com, and I look forward to being with you again the next episode of The Marc Medley Show.